Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Kano Tryharding Modern. Now, today, we'll be playing Tron again. This version of Tron has a way more reasonable sideboard than the last one. And it's not that, like, the cards in the last one were wrong, necessarily. It's just, like, they're all fine inclusions, but with the strength of the Karn Wishboard, I think you have to keep the number of non-artifact sideboard cards to a minimum, and this list sort of does that. It includes a lot of the cards I like to see in the Tron Wishboard. The only one I really don't is, I think that Oblivion Stone out of the side is a little bit unnecessary. It can be good, but I've never had it be good, but that's just my personal experience. The other thing about this list is we're still running 19 lands. We've still got the Ghost Quarter as the 19th land. And we have 2 main deck relics, which I think is kind of important in the current metagame because there is some dredge running around. So, I'm not going to ramble too much about this. I have played Tron, I don't know, something like 40 times across this series of Tryharding Modern. And so if you want a deck analysis more in depth than that, probably pick an earlier video and one where I'm not so tired and drinking coffee in the morning. I'll probably talk a little bit more about it in the wrap-up, or I'll at least try. So, see you guys in round 1. Well, here it is. Round 1. Alright. This is a mulligan, and this is the hand. Perfect. So, we're against Yorion, which tells me one of two things. Either they're playing that weird Yorion Death and Taxes, or they're just 5-color the 80 best cards in Modern. And if they're 5-color the 80 best cards in Modern, we're definitely starting Expedition Map rather than Cycle for Nature, or for the... What is it card? Sylvan Scrying? Oh my god. And the reason that we're doing that is because my opponent is probably playing some number of counterspells, and it's important to actually resolve Expedition Map. If they play Teferi on turn 2 and unsummon an artifact, it's the same result no matter what. Yeah, that is not what is happening, thankfully. But they do have a ton of mana dorks. Pass the turn. We are going to tutor for an Urza's Tower here. Hopefully they don't play Tail's End. That would be tragic. They play a Wall of Blossoms. They draw a card. Another Wall of Blossoms. They draw a card. Like, my opponent's deck has to be running Court of Calling. Like, there's just no other explanation for this. So let's go get Urza's Tower. We untap. We draw Chromatic Star. Play Tower. I think we're playing Karn, but the question is, what are we doing with Karn? My opponent has 3 cards in hand, meaning whatever the important card is, they're probably going to get to keep it. I'm going to hit Noble Hierarch because it taps for 3 colors of mana. In theory, I will get to activate this Karn before playing another Karn. Even if they attack Karn Liberated for 1 to stop him from down-ticking. We can at least uptick him before playing our other Karn. Opponent plays Prismatic Vista, cracks it. Lands Plains. And they play Vannifar. Aha. Alright, so they hit Karn down to 2. We untap. We draw a Karn Great Creator. We don't have Torpor Orb. It's kind of an uncommon inclusion at this point. We do have 9 mana, so I could wish for Sky Sovereign, but that doesn't kill Vannifar. Sundering Titan would be nice, because I would literally take out all of their lands. But we have to wait until next turn to do that. So what I want to do this turn is I think I want to use Urza's Tower, Chromatic Star, Sylvan Scrying, get another tower, play that tower, uptick this Karn, play this Karn, kill Vannifar. I think that is the most efficient usage of resources. The only difference is I'm going to use Sphere to do it. And you know what? I'm actually going to uptick Karn now before I complete this, on the off chance my opponent is holding Force of Negation plus blue card. With that many creatures, it's unlikely that that is the case, but you never know. Sylvan Scrying, get a tower, play Karn, keep the new one. Kill Vannifar so we don't die immediately. Pass the turn. Vannifar is incredibly strong because from just about any spot on the curve, you can, if you untap with her, you just pod your way to victory because there's no mana or life cost to activating the pod effect. But that's the trade-off that you make for having a more fragile birthing pod. Alright, uptick Karn. Take out a card from my opponent's hand. Once again, playing around Force of Negation, but I don't really think that's necessary. Play Power Plant. Play Karn. Now we're going to wish for Sundering Titan, and our opponent is going to be very, very sad. Play the 7/10 that triple Stone Rains. Bam, got him. Opponent is not dead yet because they do technically still have mana, but they only have one card left in their hand, and they only have 2 mana. So they're going to scoop it up in the face of double Planeswalker, which I think is completely reasonable. Okay, versus Vanifar Pod, I'm going to bring in the Dismembers. I'm going to drop 1 Relic, and I'm going to drop 1 O-Stone. I don't want to give up on O-Stone entirely, as I might need the board wipe. I don't think Grave Hate is going to be incredibly relevant here, though they are playing Renegade Rallier, so there's like an off chance we might snipe something that they're trying to do. I'm going to keep this hand, and I'm going to put back Ugin. Despite the fact that Ugin is amazing, I'm probably going to have to lean on Ancient Stirrings here. As long as Ancient Stirrings can find us the second Tron piece, we're good. I mean, we're good for a turn 4 Tron. If Chromatic Sphere or our natural draw finds us the second Tron piece, we are turn 3 Tron. Okay, we get an Ancient Stirrings. Players is mine, play Chromatic Sphere, pass the turn. Collector Oof. Yeah, this hand literally can't beat that. Noted. No adjustments, run it back. Kind of forgot Collector Oof was a card, honestly. We'll play first. This hand is awful. This hand is better, but concerning because of Collector Oof. So start Urza's Mine, play Chromatic Sphere. Pass the turn. Opponent also kept a hand of 7. They play Wooded Foothills. Obviously our best draw would be an Urza's Tower. So sack Star for green, we get an Ugin. Play Star, play Power Plant. Sack Star for green. If my opponent's playing Collector Oof anyway, I'd rather have Expedition Map. Expedition Map at least is the guaranteed tower next turn. Alright, opponent plays a Wall of Roots into a Collector Oof. We draw an Urza's Mine, which is not great. The good news is we're just top decking into a tower. As long as my opponent doesn't have some kind of very quick kill, if we top deck tower, we just Ugin the whole board away and we're good to go. Opponent Eldritch Evolutions, probably to get Vanifar, which means we need to top deck tower this turn or we die. Yep. Alright. Tron gods, if you want me to win, I need a tower. And it's gotta be a tower. I guess Dismember was also a valid answer, however that did not happen. So, I'm thinking we're just dead, because from any spot on the curve, they should have an infinite combo. Like, they can pod Noble Hierarch for Scrib Ranger, pick up a forest, untap Vanifar, or pod Scrib Ranger to get Renegade Rallier, getting back Scrib Ranger, repeat, pod Renegade Rallier for a 4-drop. I'm trying to remember which 4-drop they use. Okay, they don't even need Scrib Ranger anymore, they can just Corridor Monitor. Pod Corridor Monitor for Renegade Rallier, getting back Corridor Monitor, or they could get Pestermite, or Deceiver Exarch. Renegade Rallier, getting Corridor Monitor. So this combo's actually changed since I last played it. And the only reason I played this combo is because I played a Battle of Wits Vanifar list, which was awesome. Running like Neoform, Eldritch Evolution, Vanifar, and even like Chord and Finale of Devastation. And it was just like every creature combo. They potted for Vendilion Click to put Kiki back in their deck. They hard cast Resto, flickering Corridor Monitor, untapping Vanifar. So they pod a 3-drop into a 4-drop, or they pod the 4-drop into Kiki. Okay. Yep. Nice. So I learned a bunch, even though I lost. And we just didn't happen to have in the crazy turn 3. Collector Oof is some pretty bad beats on any version of Tron that plays as many low-drop artifacts as we do, which is basically every version. But if we had a Dismember, we probably could have reacted, but Alrighty, round 2. This hand is not keepable. I'm gonna say my mulligan luck for the first round was actually significantly better than the last league I played with Tron. I don't particularly like this one, but this hand is, I think, gonna be our best bet. Like, the only hand that is a lot better than this is if we mulligan to 4 and either have like 2 pieces map or like natural Tron threat. I'm gonna start Urza's Power Plant Chromatic Sphere. I like the fact that we have so many redundant spheres, and the reason I'm doing sphere and not map here is because I don't have a second land, and I really, really need to draw a second land for this to be good. Okay, I will take Ghost Quarter as a second land. I'm not thrilled about it, but we're going to try and cast a Sylvan Scrying here, as that's what's most likely to bait a counterspell. Also, the rest of the cards in our hand cost 1, so next turn we can theoretically play multiple spells. Pass the turn. If I draw another land, I could now Chromatic Star into a Sylvan Scrying post-remand. My opponent's either on Storm or Blue-Red Control. I've not seen the Izzet Control deck in a while, but this hand definitely doesn't beat it. Cast an Ancient Stirrings. They definitely counter this if they have a counterspell. Another Remand. Alright, pass the turn. We untap. We draw Karn. Play Chromatic Star. Sack Star for green. Ancient Stirrings. Yeah, alright. I'm just going to concede. I can play that out. There's almost 0% chance to win. I think my opponent is on actually probably the Through the Breach combo. I'm going to bring in Veil of Summer. Relic of Progenitus doesn't do a whole lot here. And I'm going to run it back. Oh, well, I was like, should I bring in Grafdigger's Cage? And then I realized that doesn't make any sense. Here, I'll play first. Well, we have Veil, but... Okay, this is a lot better in theory. We got a Hail Mary on this Ancient Stirrings, though. So put back Ulamog. We'll start Urza's Mine. Play Chromatic Star. At least on the play, there's not a lot of counterspells your opponent can have on turn 1. We untap. We draw Ugin. Sack Star for green. Ancient Stirrings. Come on, Power Plant. Oh, don't you dare have Spell Pierce. Okay. Well, we found Expedition Map. So turn 4 Tron it is. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent foretells presumably the card advantage spell. We draw Chromatic Star. Crack Expedition Map. Hit Power Plant. Play Power Plant. Play Chromatic Star. And I am going to leave Star uncracked because if we draw exactly a land or a Veil of Summer, we can play Threat plus Veil of Summer backup. Blood Moon. Perfect. Right on cue. Sack Star for green. Ancient Stirrings. I guess I'll take another tower. Rest of the bottom. I played the mine because I incorrectly clicked it instead of the tower. You would play the tower here to hide information from your opponent. But my opponent is playing Blue Moon, and there's very, very little chance we can beat them. I did not anticipate having to bring in Nature's Claim, so kind of got wrecked for that. There's a small chance we can beat them. So play Karn Great Creator. This gets countered. At least remanded. Alright, they cast Behold the Multiverse. Yep. Okay. Pass the turn. We untap. Draw a Chromatic Star. Play Karn Great Creator. Snapcaster for remand. Alright. Kind of anticipated this. But we wanted our opponent to expend their mana because we wanted to land Chromatic Star. If they have Through the Breach or anything like that, we're just dead. But we're playing out Star here. The theory is that we can land Karn Great Creator backed up with Veil of Summer. They only have 2 blue mana. Okay, that does also make me feel better about myself. So play a Forest. Play Karn. Opponent mana leaks. I'll Veil. They have a Remand. They have a second mana leak. It's unlikely we draw our other Veil, but... yeah, alright. Play Expedition Map. Pass the turn. We're getting to the point now, though, that we can start casting all of our threats just with the raw amount of mana we have. And in theory, my opponent runs out of counter spells at some point, so... We untap. We draw Sylvan Scrying. Cast Sylvan Scrying. I want to try and make my land drops while also baiting counter spells, because if my opponent just starts, like, countering irrelevant things, that's good for us. Force of Negation, pitching Cryptic Command. Alright. Then they opt. Yeah, opponent is just about out of counter spells. So this is the problem when you're playing Blue Moon and you have this many non-islands. Like, we're almost out of stuff. But another Karn Great Creator. So I'm going to play a Wormcoil Engine, because if my opponent has a Mana Leak in their hand, I want to save Karn for... Okay, they're casting Mana Leak. So that's the spell I was trying to play around. I want to save Karn for when I have 3 extra mana post Mana Leak. Alright, pass the turn. Opponent is top decking lands, which is what happens. We untap. Draw Power Plant. Play Power Plant. Play Karn Great Creator. It resolves. This means they are either out of counter spells or have a Mana Leak, and that's it. So I'm going to get Ensnaring Bridge. This is probably going to get abraded. Okay. Opponent untaps. They cast Behold the Multiverse. That spell looks better and better every single time I see it cast. They opt. They bolt Karn. Okay, we untap. Draw Ghost Quarter. Well, I didn't come here to nod Ugin. Really hope they don't have Force of Negation or Mana Leak. Okay. So we're not going to minus to kill everything. My opponent is kind of locked under their own Blood Moon in a way. We are too, but we have enough lands that we can cast basically anything we would draw. So we want to be upticking Ugin here to get to his ult as rapidly as possible. It offers roughly the same level of protection to be upticking to kill the planeswalkers, or the creatures. Opponent plays Jace. They get a Brainstorm. If they find Lightning Bolts, they can delay Ugin's ult, but it's unlikely they're going to kill him before he does. Sweet, we actually won that game. I did not expect that. So now that the Blood Moon surprise is out of the way, which is actually a really important game to win, we still need Veil. I do want Nature's Claim, so the question is, what do we cut? And I think the answer is 1 Wormcoil, because I don't mind wishing for it. And probably... I don't want to cut O-Stone, because I like having access to O-Stone. It's probably going to be a Thragtusk. It should probably be an Ulamog, because it's unlikely we ever get to that amount of mana again, but Ulamog is so incredibly good versus our opponent if we ever cast it. Alright, this hand not keepable, so it's a mulligan. This hand works. We're going to put back second tower. Hope they don't have Stone Rain. We at least have the basic forest in the event of Blood Moon. If we were on the play, this hand would be so much stronger. We draw Ugin, which is good. Players is mine. Play Expedition Map. Pass the turn. Opponent fetches in response, getting a tapped Steam Vents. Okay, we untap. We draw Chromatic Star. Play Tower. Pass the turn. The only hand that would be better against my opponent's deck is a hand that is like Natural Tron, Threat, and then a bunch of Spheres and Stars, because you want to cast stuff that's irrelevant to try and bait the counter spells first, if the opportunity prevents itself. Apparently my opponent just missed their third land and was like, nope, he's gonna win. Just literal rage quit, so... I think that was a little premature, but we were going to play a Karn next turn and follow it up with an Ugin, or at least an Ancient Stirrings, potentially into another Karn, so... Alrighty, well, I will see you all in round 3. Alrighty, welcome back to round 3. We are on the draw. We have Natural Tron and multiple maps, so I think I'm good to keep this hand. Opponent starts... Tron map. Urza Tower map. Alright, so we're against Tron. That's what I was trying to say anyway. We draw Blast Zone. Players is mine. Play Expedition Map. Pass the turn. Opponent does have turn 3 Tron. So we draw Forest. Play Power Plant. Pass the turn. Opponent gets Power Plant. They untap. This is basically going to come down to whether or not they have a threat that interacts with our mana base or not. They play Power Plant. Oh, mismatched Tron lands opponent. Oh, it's Eldrazi Tron, okay. Opponent goes to combat, hits us for 5, we go down to 15, and my opponent plays Chalice on 1. Alright, I want Sanctum so I can go tutor up another threat, but I'm going to get a redundant tower here. We untap. We draw Ugin. That's something to do next turn. Opponent is going to have to spend a turn killing Karn, so we are just going to exile tower. Pass the turn. Limiting our opponent's mana is our best option, though it's not necessarily going to work if my opponent has a second tower. They can't play Expedition Map, though, which is their only land tutor, because they're locked under their own Chalice. They kill Karn. Sure. Then they play Matter Reshaper. We untap. We draw Ancient Stirrings, which we cannot cast. Play a tower. Play Ugin. And uptick to kill Matter Reshaper. They get to flip off of Matter Reshaper into Matter Reshaper. Alright. Well, we're going to need to draw probably an Oblivion Stone. Opponent found a tower anyway. It's pretty good. They can attack Ugin down to 1, but he buys us a bit of time anyway. 9 mana. Is this a Walking Ballista? It is. So Ugin down. Alright. We untap. There's Oblivion Stone. Perfect. Play Oblivion Stone. I'm going to activate this now because I want to play Ancient Stirrings on my turn. It also prevents my opponent from putting just a ton of counters onto Walking Ballista. They do get a flip off of Matter Reshaper. They draw Reality Smasher, that's pretty good. Play a Forest, Ancient Stirrings. Get Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, rest of the bottom. Play Expedition Map. Pass the turn. So, next turn, what we're going to do is we are going to activate Expedition Map, getting Sanctum of Ugin, play Ulamog, taking out... Do I have enough mana to do that? That's 9, 10, 11. Sanctum's 12. Okay. So, crack this, get Sanctum, play Sanctum, play Ulamog, nuke these 2 lands, and the game is over. So that was a lot closer than I wanted it to be. So much. I'm a little bit sad that we don't have Wilt, because Nature's Claim just gets eaten by Chalice. It might still technically be correct to play. We are going to bring in Dismember, probably over Relic, and I'll bring in 1 Nature's Claim. I don't like it. I'm going to drop a Worm Coil so that I can wish for it, even though it's really good against my opponent's deck. But yeah, this is the main matchup that I don't like Nature's Claim because of. I like having a Singleton in the sideboard, but I think you should probably split your artifact destruction between, like, Nature's Claim and Wilt. Okay, this hand is no good. We need a fast Tron hand. With our opponent on the play, Sylvan Scrying also technically gets slightly worse because of opponent's ability to have Warping Whale. Yeah, I'm going to go to 5. Going to 4. Well, we've got a Dismember at least. So, put back Ulamog, Worm Coil, and I guess Chromatic Star. Save me, Tron top decks. Opponent starts Urza's Tower, Expedition Map, because they never don't have it. I swear. You know, people tell me that I'm good at playing Tron, but like every time I play against a Tron player, their hand is so much better than mine. Universally. It just never fails. Alright, we untap. We draw Power Plant, which is good. Play Power Plant. Pass the turn. Also, to anyone who was like, you should have kept Star. I mean, the only other option was putting back Karn, Great Creator. Because putting back Sanctum was suicide. The worst part is, I'm probably going to have to Dismember discarding Sylvan Scrying. It's better if I draw a Forest, or I guess a Sphere or a Star, but the only other option is discarding Sanctum. And I don't really want to discard lands when we're not guaranteed to draw anything of substance. Alright, so opponent attacks. We can save ourselves 1 life by Dismembering. We need something... Okay, so we need something for a Tron payoff. That's Karn Great Creator. I really want a land, because if I don't have Tron next turn, I need to play a land. So discarding Sylvan Scrying is the only real option there. Do not play Chalice on 1. Okay, they play a map. We untap. We draw Sylvan Scrying, play Sanctum, pass the turn. Needed to top deck a tower, but if we get a Sphere or a Star, we can at least assemble Tron. Unless they play Karn Great Creator. They get a second tower. They play another Smasher. If we top deck tower off the top and can play Ensnaring Bridge, we're sort of okay. We go to 11. Opponent plays Matter Reshaper. We untap. We draw Blast Zone. Play Blast Zone. So we are going to play Karn. Basically because we have to. Wish. What is our best option here? It's probably still Ensnaring Bridge. If my opponent has a Thought Knot, they'll be able to take it from us. If they have another Smasher, we just die. They play an Eldrazi Temple. They go to combat. They kill Karn. They hit us for 5. We go to 6. We're dead to Walking Ballista. Man, maybe with as bad as my mulligan luck is, I should just be playing Serum Powder. Just Serum Powder Tron. Chalice on 3. Nice. This is an Endbringer? Because I'm pretty sure that would also kill me. It is. Alright. So we untap. We draw Chromatic Star. I can play Star. Sack it for green. We draw Oblivion Stone, which we can't cast. Okay. Yep. The old Chalice on 3. No adjustments. Run it back. We'll be on the play, and if we have turn 3 Tron into Karn Liberated or Karn Great Creator, that should be the game. The past has shown us that versus Eldrazi Tron, that's not necessarily the case, but that's our best bet. Oh, this is so tempting. Don't do this to me. We are a tower away, but we have no green mana and no cycling whatsoever. Oh, this is so much worse. Don't do this to me. I'm going to 5. Oh, we have Nature's Claim, but no way to cast it. We have 1 Tron piece and a map. We have Scrying. We do have Karn. I'm going to 4. I'm doing it. Oh, alright, cool. So the question is, do we keep Ghost Quarter or do we keep Dismember? It's probably Dismember, right? Well, opponent's been really good at playing Tron lands. Yeah, I'm gonna keep Dismember. We have 3 turns, so we really only have about 2 draws right now to hit a Karn, which is an 8 of in our deck, effectively. Opponent starts map, we draw a map, play Power Plant, play map. I may just map for Ghost Quarter next turn. That's not that unreasonable. Okay, opponent plays a Wastes. We untap. We draw a Power Plant. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. So, map for Ghost Quarter. Play Ghost Quarter. Let's check how many basics they're running. It's usually 2. So they're gonna go get Eldrazi Temple. Like 100%. Yep. So that was the concern, but just getting Ghost Quarter in the meantime would not have been enough. They're going... I hope they don't have Thought Knots here. If they have Thought Knots here, they're gonna take our only answer to it. Yep. Because I had to tap out for the play that I made. So they take Dismember. They see we have Tron. Come on, Karn. Map. Play Tower. Play Map. Yeah, I'm not going to activate it. Pass the turn. I will activate it by my opponent's end step. Probably getting another tower that, just in case we draw an Ulamog. Get hit for 4. Down to 16. Matter Reshaper. Pithing Needle. So, we can get Blast Zone. If we don't do anything, opponent might name Map, and then we can't cast Ulamog if we draw Ulamog. I can get Blast Zone, then my opponent can name Blast Zone, but then I still can't draw Ulamog unless I play Urza's Power Plant as well. I can get Tower, and then my opponent can like name a Planeswalker, but that's kind of concerning. I think I actually get Blast Zone here. Because there's a chance that we actually need to blow up that Pithing Needle. Otherwise, my opponent has to Pithing Needle Blast Zone. They choose Blast Zone, okay. That is a small victory. We get a Chromatic Sphere. So, play Sphere. Cycle for green. We get a Dismember. Dismember immediately. Which gives us another redraw. We hit a Tower. Play Blast Zone, because I don't think our opponent has seen any of our other cards. This also obfuscates the fact that we have 2 towers in case my opponent does somehow have land destruction. We're currently on a 4-turn clock, which will become like a 1-turn clock if my opponent plays... okay, they Sorceress Spyglass us. They see that we have no threats. Let's hope they don't get a lucky name. We untap. We draw a Chromatic Sphere. Play Sphere. Cycle for green. How did they know to name Karn Great Creator? What are the odds that they get the right name there? Pass the turn. There's the Power Plant. They go to combat. We just need Karn or Ulamog. Liberated, not Great Creator, I should specify. Is Walking Ballista? Okay, we are dead next turn, I think. Ugin does keep us alive, so play Power Plant. There's still a really good chance we die, though. Kill Ballista. Karn Great Creator, static ability, saving us from damage. Opponent untaps, plays Tower, goes to combat. They should attack us, because if they draw a Smasher, we die. Okay? And we need to draw, I think, Ulamog. Karn Liberated also kind of does it, because I can wish for Ensnaring Bridge, and then my opponent has to go through multiple layers of redundancy. Another Walking Ballista, but it's not quite big enough to kill us. Okay, we get an Ancient Stirrings. So we have to uptick to kill Matter Reshaper and hope my opponent does not wheel into another creature. They get a Blast Zone. That is not lethal. Ballista is not lethal either because of... No. Karn is preventing Ballista from being lethal. They put Blast Zone on the board. Opponent now has to make the decision of swinging at us or swinging at Ugin, and they probably have to attack Ugin unless we're just dead. They play a land. They have 8 mana. They play Ugin the Ineffable. They make a Spirit. So they have to attack Ugin the Spirit Dragon this turn. Like, they have to. Okay. Sure. Ugin down to 9. We untap. We draw a useless Sylvan Scrying. So our only choice is killing Ballista here. Because if we kill the Spirit, they draw a card. And that potentially gets them out of this mess. If that's like a Reality Smasher... that could kill us, or like another big Planeswalker threat. We're still like teetering on the edge of death right now. They make an Eldrazi Scion and attack us for 3, because they had Warping Wail. The hidden 1 damage mode of Warping Wail killed us. That's so unfortunate. So my opponent had some pretty good luck. I think my Ghost Quarter play was incorrect. I probably could have held off on it and just played out the Tron lands, but... Alright, on to round 4. Alrighty, round 4. This hand is serviceable, but not great. So I'm going to mulligan. Okay. My opponent kept 7. Yeah, I'm going to mulligan. Okay. Whoops. Put back 2 maps. We're going to keep the star just for cycling purposes. It also fills out the curve on 3 if we have to play Wormcoil. Although, not keeping a second map would absolutely wreck me if my opponent started Thoughtseize. So, please, opponent, don't start Thoughtseize. No! Oh, great, it's Lantern. Opponent's top-decking Witchbane Orb. So we draw Urza's Mine. Karn Great Creator on top, I imagine is tough for my opponent to deal with if we draw. Pass the turn. It's like, if my opponent can't activate artifacts, they're probably just gonna get wrecked. So opponent draws Witchbane Orb. They have Spire of Industry on top. Kind of move those to the traditional deck positions in paper. Opponent plays a Codex Shredder. They definitely mill Karn Great Creator. We untap, draw a Forest, play a Tower, pass the turn. Opponent untaps. I hate playing against this deck. I kind of just wish they would ban Lantern of Insight because this deck is not a fun play pattern. Even in like the best case scenario, it's just a non-game. I mean, I honestly don't even mind drawing an Oblivion Stone, but I am going to crack for Power Plant here. And I know that, like, a lot of people who would detract from my comment would, or, like, who would get upset at my comment are like, but Kano, you play prison decks all the time. You can't just say ban a card because I don't like it. I mean, I can say that, but doesn't mean it's necessarily a good opinion. The reason that I say that, though, is because, like, even 8-rack, you have the ability to top deck a way to win, whereas Lantern Control, you don't. Like, if your opponent just assembles the lock hard enough, there's nothing you can do about it. And it takes forever, and it's no fun. I probably should have down-ticked on Lantern, but, because I've got a feeling my opponent is just going to mill themselves into a Pithing Needle, and then we're going to be in trouble. But I was also talking and distracted, so I uptick Karn on my opponent. Certainly incorrect. Especially if they have, like, what is it? Assassin's Trophy, which they're now main decking, because they have an answer to any permanent. So they untap, they draw Bauble, they have another Bauble on top, they play Academy Ruins, they play Bauble, they play Witchbane Orb, okay? We untap, we draw a Power Plant. So my opponent can get multiple draws next turn. I'm going to downtick and kill Lantern to limit my opponent's information. So they can sack Lantern. They shuffle their library. They don't want to draw another bauble. We play an Urza's Mine. We'll play a Wormcoil Engine, and then play Chromatic Star. We'll save Star basically as a redraw if we have to. Opponent is going to bauble our top deck. Pass the turn. Opponent mills us, milling an Urza's Mine, I think. So opponent can Academy Ruins Lantern of Insight to the top of their deck, and then play Lantern of Insight again. They kind of top deck lock themselves if they do that, but not this turn because of bauble. They do lose all of their mana this turn doing this. So they draw Lantern, and then they draw for turn. They play Lantern. There's a Grafdigger's Cage on top. They play a bauble. Then they pass the turn. Alright, we untap. We draw a Chromatic Sphere. So we're going to force our opponent to deal with this Karn Great Creator by playing Chromatic Sphere. They'll try and mill us. We'll cycle Star. Or they just let us have it. So play Karn Great Creator. Yeah, that's game. Versus my opponent's deck, we're definitely bringing in the Nature's Claims. I like having the relics. I almost want to bring in the third O-Stone, but I maybe need to wish for it. We'll cut an Ulamog. We'll cut a Wormcoil. I'm going to bring in another Oblivion Stone. I'm going to drop Thragtusk. And we'll try it like this. Sorry, I was saying something about why we should ban Lantern Control. I think basically for the... It's not... It probably won't be banned unless it becomes a very powerful meta deck. It's not incredibly difficult to hate out, because if it does become meta, you have something like Hurkyl's Recall. You know, you can Shatter Spree and just blow up everything. But the metas that it would be good in are just, in general, not fun play patterns. So we have Relic to cycle. We do have an Oblivion Stone. This is 2/3 of Tron. We have a lot of action. I'm going to keep, but I just don't like it because the games take forever, and I have not played a fun game versus Lantern Control, except that one time I beat them because I played Howling Mine and Time Warp. And Howling Mine is a card that, like, my opponent's deck literally cannot beat, which is really funny. Just everybody draws extra cards. Like, they have to assemble so many more lock pieces to try and deny you draws. Oh, never mind. There was one other game that I really enjoyed. I've only queued into my opponent's deck one time. With Battle of Wits, and with Battle of Wits my opponent literally couldn't beat me because I answered Girpur Aether Grid, and so their only option was to mill me out, and their only option to do that is to mill through 240 cards of nonsense where something or other might actually resolve and be important. So that's kind of cool. I'll start on my opponent's upkeep, exiling their grave. Okay. They draw a card. They Inquisition, so they can take O-Stone or Stirrings. They'll take Stirrings if they're afraid that we're going to tutor something up with it that they can't deal with. Yep. It's a little bit more reasonable. They have another turn to answer O-Stone, potentially. Plus, they also have Pithing Needle. Okay, there's Pithing Needle. So they're probably going to Pithing Needle Oblivion Stone. Yep. Alright. We untap. Draw Chromatic Star. Cycle Relic. We get a Nature's Claim. Play Tower. Play Star. Hopefully we don't get Thought Seized again. If we get Nature's Claim to deal with Pithing Needle, that would be fantastic. Because then we can land... Or we could actually play Oblivion Stone and then Nature's Claim after the fact. If we can assemble Tron quickly, then we can get Karn down before they play another Pithing Needle effect or Thought Seize us. They play Spellskite, so that answers Nature's Claim. They Ancient Stirrings. They get another Pithing Needle. Okay. So they will Pithing Needle our Karn Liberated now. We untap. We draw another Karn Liberated, which is the opposite of what we want. Cycle Star for green. We draw Thragtusk, which is not great. Attempt to throw out Nature's Claim on Pithing Needle. They'll just redirect to Spellskite. It's basically free for them to do so. I'm doing it this way because we're giving them the ability to make a mistake, which is that mistake. Because now my opponent can name Oblivion Stone again, but we do have Karn, and we have multiple Karns. So if we can top deck a Urza's Mine, that would be great. They play Bauble. Last card in hand is Pithing Needle. So they Pithing Needle O-Stone, because it's still the earliest thing we can throw down and one of the most threatening things to their entire board. They'll probably crack Bauble on our turn. They still name Oblivion Stone. Okay, they pass. On our upkeep, yeah, they want to see what we draw because they want as much information as possible. They didn't want to crack on their turn because if we did draw Mine, we could just uptick Karn and take their last card in hand. We get another tower. That's not what we want. Play tower. Play Oblivion Stone. So, in order of importance, what we want to draw. We want to draw Urza's Mine, followed by Forest, followed by Chromatic Sphere or Star into Nature's Claim, followed by Expedition Map, in that order. Those are the importance of our draws. Thankfully, our opponent cannot use Codex Shredder to manipulate our top decks yet, but they can start blindly milling. So they exile Blind, we untap, we draw Blast Zone, which is going to be game over. So play Blast Zone, and we are just going to, I think, immediately crack this. Yes. We want to do this now, because if my opponent top decks another untapped land, they can recycle whatever their best one-drop, or whatever their best card out of the grave is. Right now they are completely in top deck mode, they have no way to gain advantage. All we need to do is draw an Urza's Mine and this game is over. They did draw to untapped land, so we prevented them from using the other mode of Codex Shredder. We draw Ancient Stirrings, which is not ideal. We can't do anything past the turn. So Sphere Star would be great, Forest good, Mine best. Still like the same order, basically, as I said before. In order of importance, the best draws we could have. They play Lantern, we're drawing a Forest, they're drawing a Codex Shredder. This is fine. There's an Ulamog on top of our deck. I don't particularly care about that. We're just going to play Thragtusk and start beating down. The issue is with my opponent playing Codex Shredder is they can start manipulating their own top deck to effectively draw extra cards, or scry, sort of. And then a turn after Codex Shredder, they can start potentially casting problematic cards for us. I imagine they mill themselves here. Like, they mill us. They don't want us drawing Ulamog. Interesting. Okay. So we untap. I'm going to cast Ancient Stirrings first. Perfect. Opponent may actually crack Lantern here to stop me from drawing that Mine. They did not. Rest to the bottom. Go to combat. Attack for 5. Okay. Opponent takes 5. So we know what our opponent is top decking. We have 11 mana. I'm going to crack Oblivion Stone now. My opponent is top decking a Forest. They'd have to sack Lantern to stop their own top deck. We blow up the whole board. We get a Beast token. And my opponent has to sack Glimmervoid. And we're doing it on our second main phase. So players is mine. This lets us resolve a Karn with literally no possible interruption from the opponent. And then we can sack Sanctum to get, you know, some backup. Okay, we get a Beast. Opponent just lets that go, so they're drawing a Forest next turn, and they sack Glimmervoid. So this game is over. Like, next turn, I can almost play 2 Karns next turn. Nice Forest, bro. We untap. Play Karn. Sack Sanctum. Get Wormcoil, because we only have 1 Ulamog. Karn resolves. Take out their black mana. This way they can't Assassin's Trophy. And I think that actually did matter. Play Wormcoil. Go to combat. Hit our opponent for 3. Okay. Opponent untaps. And we got there. Thank goodness. So, I want to mention that any of the matches we've lost up until this point, we absolutely could have won if they'd gone just slightly differently. So, alright, I will see you all in round 5. Alrighty, round 5, and my opponent has revealed Luris of the Dream Den. So, we gotta keep in mind that this is either burn or we're about to be thought seized. And we got a mulligan this hand. Perfect. Put back Sanctum. Opponent starts flooded. Oh god, it's mill, isn't it? Why? The problem is, this is actually unbeatable because we don't have a Kozilek in the board. Like, all I gotta do is surgical a Tron land, and we're holding all of our Tron lands, so... They just cantrip. They don't have a second land? That seems brave. Sack Star for green, play Mine, play Sphere, sack Sphere for green, Ancient Stirrings, Oblivion Stone? Rest of the bottom. We're trying hard not to search our deck at the moment. Because if my opponent kept a one-lander, they're holding, like, Quadra Archive Trap maximum crab. Oh, don't mill a tower and surgical, please. Well, there's all of our threats we were about to draw. That would have been great. We untap. We draw Mine. Play Tower. Play O-Stone. Play Map. Do not crack Map. Never crack Map. Opponent untaps. They're all action, so if they play a land, they top-decked it. We get glimpsed. There goes the next however much of our deck. Do we have any threats left to draw? I got a Worm Coil, several Karn Great Creators, as in 3 of them, and 2 Karn Liberateds. Alright, we untap. We draw Chromatic Star. I'm getting surgicaled. What a jerk. They took Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, because obviously I kept a 10-mana spell in hand if I haven't played a threat yet. That's kind of funny, but I get to see what's left in our deck to intelligently target more surgicals and such. Surgicals and such. Sounds like a great Magic-related band. Okay. Play Star. Sack Star for green. We draw Worm Coil. So I can either play Worm Coil or crack O-Stone. And I think it's crack O-Stone time. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They have Visions of Beyond. They get to draw 3 cards. So they should have a land now. If they don't have a land, we're in a good spot. Okay, they have a land. It's a black land, and they play Mesmeric. Alright. We untap. We mill 3. Library getting low. We get a Relic. They're surgicaling something else. They did not see the Worm Coil, I should note. That, or they're just still have their stop on draw for the last surgical, but I imagine they have another surgical. They do on Karn Liberated, as they feel like that is the worst thing we could have right now. So there goes our Karns. So we have like a Karn Great Creator left in the deck, and like an Ugin. Alright, play Relic, exile the Graves. We get a Blast Zone. Play Power Plant, play Worm Coil, pass. Opponent untaps, mills some cards. Opponent fields our tower, we get a Forest, and now we get Archive Trap to death. Maddening Cacophony. So there goes basically the rest of our threats. Yep, no more Planeswalkers left in the deck. Go to combat. Hit our opponent for 6. The worst part is our opponent is 3 hits from death. They mill a bunch of stuff. They play a crab. They play a land. They fetch. And we die. But I got some lucky mills. So, yeah, without mill-specific sideboard hate, it's basically unbeatable. And the reason being is they main deck Field of Ruin. They don't care about the fact that we play massive threats. They surgical our lands, so basically we're trying to just hard cast 7 drops against what becomes an efficient burn deck. It's not an efficient burn deck to start, but imagine if you were playing burn and you only could play, what is it? Frenzied Goblins and Legion Loyalists and 1/1s with haste. Like Mog Fanatics. Imagine if you had to play Goblins with Mog Fanatics and Shocks versus a deck that is literally just Mountains and Shivan Dragons. Like, that's what it kind of boils down to. And even though you're not a good burn deck, you do get like 9 turns, which is on average better than regular burn versus a regular modern deck. So that's the kind of comparison that's happening here. Because, like, if you could play a Shivan Dragon, you would outpace the burn deck. Cause you'd have them on, like, a 2-turn clock. You just swing, fire, breathe, and they would be dead. But you gotta get it. You gotta get there naturally drawing your land. Oh, you're playing Shivan Dragons in a 19-land deck. I should say that much. So the odds that you even draw the lands you need is pretty low. We're gonna bring in Dismembers because Dismembers for the stupid crabs. We're going to drop Thragtusks and a Worm Coil. We're going to keep the rest of our Planeswalkers because we are trying to remain threat diverse to dodge surgical as much as possible. If we had a Kozilek, this matchup might be winnable. And everybody, like, every time I queue into a mill deck, and I don't have Kozilek, everyone in the comments, I shouldn't say everyone, there's at least 2 people in the comments that are like, Kano, why don't you play Kozilek? You're running into mill, you should play Kozilek. Well, first off, I barely ever, at all, queue into mill. Second, anytime I have Kozilek in my sideboard, and I play through a league without seeing mill once, everybody responds with, Kano, why are you playing Kozilek? Mill's not a real deck, you're never gonna play against it. Like, it's just like, I can't win. And it's actually frustrating to me on a personal level. Because I think Kozilek is a completely fine sideboard card, even as just like another big dumb Eldrazi threat versus like decks that you want that against. So, you know, it's not like it's some unplayable jank like a lot of people think it is. But it's very hotly contested from all of the Tron players in my comments. So, and you're not necessarily wrong to say either of those criticisms. It's just, I always get criticized no matter which side of the fence I happen to play the particular deck list on, you know? So, that's just the way things are. So they did mill a tower. They're gonna surgical tower on our draw step. I can smell it. Stinks like Phyrexian mana. Okay. I'm going to pass to my second main like a baller, and then play Power Plant, and play out Sphere, and play out Sphere. Pass the turn. But like, we've lost our Tron mana, so we are in trouble. Alright? Okay, yeah. Alright, fine, we'll play it out. I get yelled at for not playing it out. Scooping early. But we've effectively reached the zone of no return. We draw Ulamog, which we have no hope of casting. Watch my opponent's Surgical Karn Great Creator with surgical precision. Play Blast Zone. Play Karn Great Creator. Wish. Gonna get Sky Sovereign. Pass the turn. I might still end up cracking Blast Zone, but they field our Blast Zone. They get to mill us for 6 more, and we're dead to double Archive Trap, perhaps? Okay, no Archive Trap. Yeah, we just don't have a fast enough clock. And there goes our other Veil. Alright, I'll scoop it up now. If it's any solace to people who are like, oh my gosh, Kano, you got such bad matchups, at least, like, Mill and, what's it called? Lantern Control are in the, like, 0-3 bracket, 0-2 bracket. So that is one of the problems. I shouldn't say a problem. It's more of a feature than a bug. It's one of the things about most formats of Magic. But it causes this weird snowball effect, and it discourages a lot of people. And I found myself affected by this in the past, so I'm going to just enumerate it here before I start talking about the deck. A lot of people, when they play Magic, you know, you build a deck it's the reason there's a metagame. You build a deck with the knowledge that other people are going to be playing a certain subset of decks, and occasionally there'll be a wild card. So you build a deck to face that metagame, and you get unlucky, you play something slightly off meta, whatever happens, and you lose. You lose like round 1 or round 2, you lose early in a tournament. So now you're in the X and 1 bracket, and generally what happens is all of the meta decks beat the wildcard decks most of the time, unless it's a strange meta or someone really found like a meta-destroying deck. So your odds of playing an off-meta deck increase. If your odds of playing an off-meta deck increase, your odds of playing a bad matchup for Tron increases. Because the off-meta decks are the decks that are boomeranging your lands, stone raining you repeatedly, milling you, playing Lantern Control and stopping you from top decking. Like, that's what's going to happen. So your odds of playing against those decks increase. So you start by getting unlucky. Then you play a bad matchup. Maybe you get unlucky there too. Or maybe your opponent just surgicals your Tron land on turn 1. And then, like, it's very easy to get on tilt. But we beat Lantern Control, despite it not being a good matchup for us. Like, we have Karn Great Creator. That's the only thing we really have going for us. But if I had sat there and got tilted because I lost a couple of games that I should have won earlier, I almost certainly would have lost the Lantern Control game or got salty and scooped it up. And then, of course, you know, we just got unlucky and queued into mill. what I'm saying is there's this snowball effect of losing when you play in a tournament of Magic, and if you're playing to win, it can be very discouraging. Try not to let it get you down. You got to look at the bigger picture, because every single time that happens to you, there's, in the long run, going to be a time where the opposite is true, where you queue into a good matchup, you absolutely curb stomp somebody, that sort of a thing. And if bad luck is happening to you every single game, every single tournament, there's one of 2 or 3 things happening. Either you don't play that many tournaments, so the law of large numbers does not take into effect. I play at least a League of Magic a day. At least. That's just what you guys see. And occasionally I get another 1 or 2 in when I'm testing other stuff. So large numbers and strange coincidences are going to occur more often to me just by sheer volume. But if you're getting unlucky in every tournament, you may not be playing that much Magic, and you may not be actually having the opportunities to get lucky. Second thing that could be occurring, you could be remembering the bad times more than the good. It's way easier to remember a punishing loss than it is to win an absolutely crippling victory. I cannot tell you the number of times that I have lost from turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 1, turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 fucking Wrench Mind, turn 3 Liliana. I have nothing. They surgicaled all my threats. But I remember the vast majority of those games. I know that they happened. Those far outweigh the number of times that I've played Mind Power Tower Karn and just won on the spot. Those games feel routine. And because of that, they're not memorable. They become the expected outcome. And no matter how efficient your deck is, you can't guarantee that that's what's going to happen. So you shouldn't expect that. I mean, I've complained about it the last few leagues that, my mulligan luck has been terrible. And if you look at it, the number of times the expected outcome of turn 3 Tron, Karn has happened, it's been like 25 to 35% of the games, which percentage-wise is huge. Because I think out of all of those, I lost only a couple of turn 3 Karn hands because my opponent was like Eldrazi Tron and they had a crazy way to still recover from me stone raining them and then interact with my mana base. So like, I remember those losses, and even though I got the expected outcome probably a disproportionate percentage of the time, it wasn't fun, and I still remember those losses. So you can't let it snowball and you can't let it get you down. And if you're like me, that's not where you should be focusing anyway. I punt enough times during a league that, like, it's just, any loss I experience due to variance, like, doesn't even matter. I've lost so many percentage points in recent leagues from just absolutely throwing the game spectacularly. And it's frustrating because sometimes it's like I literally can't stop punting, and then I notice it and it gets worse because I focus on it, and then I punt harder. And sometimes it's funnier, and that's okay because then it's entertainment value. I run a YouTube channel, but like, it's also frustrating on a personal level because I punt in ways that I can't even imagine. Like, oh gosh, I accidentally clicked mulligan twice when I meant to click keep. Like, it's just like, ugh. I am no longer the clown. I am the entire circus. But my point is, don't go on tilt. It's not worth it. Even if you take Magic extremely seriously, you lose more games from being frustrated than you will by bad luck ever. Because if you have been a long-time watcher of my content, how many times have I been playing a jank deck like Time Warps and just been like, yep, there's no way we can win this game, 0% chance to win, into like 3 chained Temporal Masteries? Those are the games that you want to remember, that are awesome, that will give you the extra luck percentage points. Like, those are the games you want to focus on to have a cool story and you know, be excited about. And the rest of the time when it doesn't happen, it's kind of like, all right, cool, we didn't get it. Like, it's a fun thing to take seriously. It's a good hobby to have, but just don't let it get you down. Don't go on tilt. I know a lot of great Magic players personally, and I can give you an example of one of my friends from college. The guy played absolutely insane decks in Standard. He played a deck that he called Nicol Bolas Happy Fun Time, and all it was in Return to Ravnica Standard, he played blue-green defenders with Axebane Guardian ramp. And so, like, the whole deck just generated a ton of mana by having a bunch of efficient mana dorks, cool defender interactions. It kind of stonewalled aggro. And despite the deck being Simic, he would frequently cast Nicol Bolas on, like, turn 4. The 8 mana Nicol Bolas that would blow up non-creature permanents. And a lot of decks at the time just couldn't handle that. Like, you know, the aggro deck would beat stuff down. And he played another deck that was really fun called Trollnado, which was just Devastation Tides and Cyclonic Rifts and ramp the deck. And, like, other players against him would just rage quit. And his decks were really good, and they were really brewed well for, like, an off-meta situation. And because people didn't know how to play against, or they only knew how to play against the metagame, they didn't have, like, good Magic fundamentals, a lot of people would rage quit, and I would watch this. But he also suffers from, like, going on tilt, the same way that a lot of his opponents would. Like, when he would get his combos off, he would just, you know, he would absolutely be enjoying himself, and it would be a great, grand, happy time. But when he didn't get his combos off, he would go on tilt, he would not enjoy himself, and it would be like, you know, the whole night shot. And it's kind of, the larger thing that I'm trying to describe here is, number one, don't get salty. It's not worth it. Number two, if you're salty, don't take it out on your opponent. Don't take it out on other people. I've seen too many players, like, just get up and leave because an opponent was mean to them. And I'm kind of abstracted away from that because I play on Moto basically exclusively, but it also lets me react how I want to react, or react for comedic purposes, without showing that to my opponent. So, like, I could be a sore winner for fun because I have the, like, you know, shield of the internet between me and my opponent, and unless they happen to browse my videos and see that particular batch, they're not going to see that. It's not going to be directed at them. There's like 3 layers of abstraction, and I don't hurt my opponent's feelings if I do that. But, like, if you're playing in paper especially, be nice to your opponents, be polite. If you get salty, just, you know, scoop it up, go to next match, and try and do better next time. You know, don't play your F&M like it's the world championship. It's not necessary. Okay, so that was like a 20-minute rant on a lot of different things, especially not being salty. I'm sorry I got sidetracked, but I was kind of like giving myself a little bit of a pep talk there because, you know, I felt bad after losing repeatedly, and I feel better about it now after having, like, rationalized that out. So what do I have to say about this deck list? I think this deck list is fine. The sideboard seems good. I didn't feel like I was lacking tools at any point. I think the only change that I would make is I would probably drop Oblivion Stone out of the side. When you have multiple of them in the main, you can always side one out if you need to have the ability to wish for it. I just would swap the Oblivion Stone for a Pithing Needle. That's really the only change I would make. You could also swap up your numbers of Dismembered, Nature's Claim, and Veil of Summer. Those are always flexible. I definitely like having Relic of Progenitus in the main board. I'm happy we don't have any Walking Ballistas in the main board. I feel like they're too inefficient unless you're already winning, which is what makes it a perfect wish board target. I like having Sky Sovereign. It's a quick clock. It helps beat down aggro because it answers... Porter is getting antsy because he knows I'm at the end of the video. And he's sticking his nose up to see what's going on. But yeah, no, I really think that the numbers in this list are good. I think this is a good standard list. The only other thing that you can really do as a flex slot is if you don't like Ghost Quarter, you can run 18 lands instead, and you can run a Dismember in the main, you can run a 3rd Relic, you can run a 3rd O-Stone, you can run a 6th Thragtusk Wormcoil effect. But that's really about it, and I think 19 lands is okay. I never really felt like I was drawing too many of them. Ancient Stirrings feels a little bit better because it hits a land slightly more frequently, but... yeah, I think I've talked enough. I hope you guys enjoyed this content. If you did, please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined. And remember, you can follow me on Twitch. Same username over there as you find me on here. I stream Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, though the last few have been slightly earlier than that. I'm trying to find another day in my schedule to start streaming, but I am a very busy man. This upcoming stream, because this video is going to be posted tomorrow, so the day after that is
St. Patrick's Day. I'll be streaming on St. Patrick's Day, which will be fun. I got a lot to celebrate in my personal life. I recently just paid off the last debt that I have, and I am officially debt-free, which is an amazingly liberating feeling. Holy crap. I never thought I could do it. I definitely didn't think I could do it this early in my life, but I'm super, super proud of that. And I want you to know that you're all wonderful human beings, and I really appreciate you guys' support and viewership, and even your critiques of my plays. It's nice because it keeps me in line and gives me perspective, and yeah, I really appreciate interacting with you all. So if you want to interact with me a little bit more directly than the YouTube comment section, consider joining the Discord in the link below. I'm going to be doing some user events coming up soon. TM, I don't know exactly when, but as soon as my life gets slightly less busy than it is, which is hopefully within the next couple of weeks, I can spend a little bit more energy focusing on that. I'm going to be asking some of my mods for help organizing that, because I'm realizing that I've been playing one-man band and wearing too many hats for too many different things, and I'm getting to the point where I have to start outsourcing mental overhead to the people whose work I can trust the quality of, because while I can do everything myself, I am capable, I have the knowledge, I have the skill, I do not have the time. And this is a new problem that I'm gaining perspective of. Just because I can do something and I can trust myself to do it right doesn't mean that I necessarily should be the person to do that thing, simply because of the time factor. I'm getting to the point where I have to, I gotta start asking people for help. So, yeah. Anyway, I want you to know you're all wonderful human beings. Thank you if you stuck around through this, whatever it's called. I appreciate it. And, yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!